Okay, guys, we're testing right now. It looks like Streamlabs is having issues. I don't really know what's going on, but YouTube seems to be fine. Um, we're just gonna keep streaming away, and hopefully it's working right now. Sorry about the inconveniences. I'm as frustrated as you guys probably are at this point. This just is something I can't really control. I wish that I could, but there's really not much else I can do. So, like I said, we're just doing a simpler stream today. We're starting a little early just to make sure everything's working, and it seems to be working just fine. All the counters are there. We have everything that we need, and now we have this new updated feed here, so you guys can actually see what's on my screen a lot easier than you've been able to see in the past. So that's awesome. The latency is still not too great. It's a little long for my end, so if you guys are responding in the chats, definitely let me know. I can see all that stuff on my screen, I guess. So if you want to communicate, you can do so. There's just like a little pop-out chat. We're just getting set up right now. Should be a pretty low-key stream tonight. Not going super crazy. We're just going to try to have fun with it, and that's going to be it. So I'm going to leave some links in the chat right now as well, and we're going to get started on this. So we're going to be drawing something from my sketchbook. You guys might have seen this in a past stream. I think I started live streaming, and same issue. Things got kind of cut down, but no big deal. And it is thundering and lightning out near me. So if I lose power, I'm very sorry. Hopefully we don't. We are going to basically talk about what's going on. I want to wait until exactly 5 o'clock just because that's when I had announced it, but started running into some technical difficulties on my end. So I just wanted to make sure that I could get a lot of this stuff figured out before we really hit the live stream marks. So whoever's viewing right now, I highly appreciate it. Everyone that's been watching the stream lately. I know I haven't been as active on YouTube, and there's a good reason why. So we'll get into that in a little bit and what I'm planning to do about it. Sorry guys, trying to locate a few things. All right, so we are good to go. Damn, it is coming down out there. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I can hear it through my headphones. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna wait until exactly at 5 before we really start talking into it. I'm just gonna keep sketching right now and warming up. And if you guys have any questions at all, or you're curious about what I'm drawing, definitely feel free to ask. I have this closed, but I'll keep it open, I guess, so you guys can see what I'm physically doing. I'm actually drawing. I don't know. Some people are like, they need to see me actually drawing, and I think that's weird, but whatever you guys need. My hair is a mess, so 1 second. Yeah, it is downpouring outside right now. Okay, so yeah, I'm hoping things don't get cut out. I've been having some bad luck with this lately, so hopefully I don't lose power or anything, but I live in a super old, shitty building that's falling apart. And occasionally we'll lose power when we have a storm like this. Okay, let's just double check everything. Everything looks good. Sorry, my hat is now getting in the way. 1 second, I'm sorry about that. I should refocus in a second. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna turn this off. I feel like it's just a distraction right now, so we'll close that up so I don't accidentally get the brim of my hat in the way of the shot. There's still some other things I might need to start doing better live streams, but right now, like, I'm not spending any money on any other things for YouTube for the time being. Everything right now is going to be actually to try to help me find a new place to move to, because currently everything is a little difficult. Like I said, we'll get into it in a little bit. Sorry, I'm like just trying to figure out what to talk about right now. But basically, things are getting hard, and I'm trying to, not have to deal. But stuff happens, and it's fine. But yeah, we're keeping it positive. I got some great news. We have the new toy drop that's coming up, so that's really exciting. That's happening at midnight tonight. So anyone that's been following on the following my other social media. Honestly, now that I've been using the iPad for so long, I don't want to use my my drawing tablet anymore. But it does have uses that I wish I could like emulate on the iPad, but vice versa. So I still have to use it for some things, but hands down, I love my iPad. I like my iPad more than my like small mini Cintiq that I have. I got the Cintiq over getting an iPad just because I didn't think the iPad could do professional work yet. And basically, with my tax return during the start of the pandemic, I got the iPad, and it's just so much faster and more intuitive. And my general sketches for vectorizing things I do on my iPad now. So I'll do this on the iPad, and then if I need to make it more of like a vectorized object or illustration, I'll pull it into Illustrator and then use my Cintiq. But if you're on the fence about it, or you think you might need both for professional work, I would actually just go with getting an iPad for drawing application stuff, and then everything else I wouldn't worry about it as much. I would actually I would consider like getting a cheaper Cintiq, so one that you're not too worried about spending a lot of money on, but it does the job for you, what you need, and like you get one that doesn't have an actual visual screen, so like you can do all that on the iPad instead. And then for vectorizing and fine-tuning work, just get a cheaper drawing tablet for your computer if you need it for professional work. But the iPad does more than enough for me. I'm super happy with it. I'm really impressed with the quality of it. It does just great work. The brushes are great. There's a phenomenal community of people that use iPads currently. So I think that's one of the things that you should definitely consider if you're on the fence. I think the iPad is worth it. I think it's worth everything. If you're going to get it, definitely get it with the Apple Pencil. I haven't heard too many people having much luck with those other like aftermarket brands. So it is an investment, but it's an investment worth it if you're already in the tablet market. And Procreate's like $10 once versus Photoshop and Illustrator, which is like a monthly subscription. And if you're not a professional and you're trying to learn and draw as much as possible digitally, it's just not cost effective for most people. In most people's situations, it's way too much money. So that's why I highly recommend the iPad. I think it's definitely an underrated tool for a lot of people. And I was one of those people that was like, I'm like, oh, fuck the iPad. It's like going to be a shittier version of like a Cintiq. Cintiqs have been doing great for years, and like Wacom has really figured out their stuff. They know what's going on. But I was dumb, and I should have given the iPad another chance, because when you first touch an iPad, it's awkward. It doesn't feel as intuitive, and it takes a while. So once you start really using it, that's when you're like, oh wow, like the iPad's great and works just like working in a sketchbook or anything else. And I think that's the big thing that like I was so against in the beginning. I'm like, there's no way I can do what I needed to do, and this and that and all these other problems. But like, look at that, like instantly just erase something. If you don't want it there, it's just gone. So that's pretty great. I don't know, there's like a lot of cool brushes too. So like if you really explore with all the brushes in here, I've got a lot. I've just been collecting them, and people will send me brushes to try out and stuff. And I purchased a bunch as soon as I got it, just because it was, it's like what you do. You get the things that you need, and you try things out. And there's a lot of hype brushes out there that are kind of, they're not the coolest, and they're like kind of whack. But if you get them from reputable places, they're definitely worth it. and worth the time and all that and learning about them. But like these like graffiti brushes, I've been absolutely obsessed with. So like you can get like actual like flare style tags, and people who don't do graffiti or not familiar with spray can style artwork, they don't realize how amazing that is. You know, being able to get an actual oversprayed kind of flare look, that's insane. So being able to emulate a lot of those styles. So if like we go into my gallery here, we go back and we look at this piece was all made with basically spray paint brushes. So that was awesome. And the thing that is really great about that, if you're someone that does graffiti, it translates super well. Yeah, honestly, I definitely highly recommend it. I got the newest iPad because it came out literally just during the start of the like the quarantine, and I've been really happy with it. I haven't really personally run into any issues, but I know that's always a possibility with anything Apple puts out. But I've been really happy with it personally. I think it's been doing great. I haven't really run into any issues, and just the airdrop back and forth. I'm a Apple user for pretty much everything. It's been, what I use as a professional tool every day are Apple computers and pretty much all Apple products, just because it's super intuitive and works really well for me. But I know some people are like, I was a diehard PC person for a long time, but I did a lot of like 3D work and more design heavy stuff that at the time like Apple computers weren't capable of doing as efficiently as a PC when it came to doing 3D work. But now it's so damn close that I can pretty much do everything I need to on an iPad, which is insane to think about as a concept. When you really think about what you can do on an iPad and like what the capabilities are of one, it's just a no-brainer. You'll start using it and you'll be like, wow, I should have switched sooner, or like that's my biggest thing. I wish I got one sooner because I would have been able to produce work so much faster for a lot of the stuff I do, being an illustrator. If you're not necessarily like an illustrator or something, it might not be as important, but to me it was huge. I thought it was like one of the best investments I've made. I still do think it's the best investment I've made in recent years, other than like the camera and stuff. But everyone's got their own stuff they got to worry about, and it's definitely expensive. It's not cheap at all. I think like I still think about how much it costs. I'm like, damn, like a couple of years ago I could have never even thought about spending money on something like this to help with my career. Sorry, I keep getting in front of the camera. I'm noticing it now on screen. Sorry, the autofocus feature of my camera does that. I'll try to keep back. I'm looking at new overhead rig options, but they're expensive, like I said, so I'm not going to be doing that for a while. But you just have to bear with me while I figure out how to work on stuff without getting my head in the shot. And sorry for all the background noise of the rain. It's kind of nice. It's like a little like relaxing rain now. Okay, so we got the monster here. We're getting closer to 5 o'clock. Just double checking. I got a bunch of people that keep texting me right now too. Sorry. And like a little mosquito or something flying around in my space. Okay, sorry. So I got some clients and stuff that are like hitting me up with some simple edit changes to a project I've been working on, so we'll be finishing that up for them soon. Sorry. Forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. I usually put it on airplane mode when I'm doing this stuff. Okay. All right, so we have the sketch now of basically what I'm planning to do. This is the rough sketch, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. In a little bit, we're gonna start talking about the new toy that's dropping tonight at midnight, which people have been really excited about, super supportive of, really pumped on it. Just made it past 650 subs. We're currently at 660 on the channel, so that's huge. Thank you guys so much. I kind of can't even believe it still. I'm just blown away by the amount of support you guys have been giving me, especially these, last few months. I never thought the channel would even come close to this. And once I got over 100 subs, that was like a huge deal to me. So being at this threshold and level on the channel is huge, and I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me on pretty much all my social media platforms to keep going. As an independent artist, it's really easy to get so burned out and, kind of bummed out with situations that are out of your control and lack of resources. It makes it difficult sometimes, and I just really appreciate that you guys have been super supportive the whole time, which is awesome, and I do really appreciate it. And it's cool, like we got 4 people watching me draw, like people are that pumped. They like come and hang out and just chill in a community, and it's not even at stream time. Holy crap, that's getting loud. All right, so it's 3 minutes before it's the official live time that I've set on all my social media, so hopefully people will start coming in. We're going to just keep drawing along. We're going to switch up to a different color, and we're going to start pulling out some details in the sketch, and we're going to start fixing some lines. So this is how I draw in real life on traditional media with paper. I'll sketch something out, I'll take a piece of tracing out, and basically how animators work with onion skins, I do the same thing with tracing paper to basically recreate different elements and tune things up and kind of fix it and make things more unique. Hell yeah, man. I'd love to see your sculpture stuff. If you want to plug like your Instagram, feel free. I'm always down for people that want to share like the stuff they're sculpting. A buddy of mine, I know a lot of like really talented sculptors, so I'm pumped, and your stuff's rad. So if you also another like really talented sculptor, Vinny Chav. If you guys don't follow that dude, I think he's just like Vinny Chav on Instagram. His shit is always amazing, and when I was doing resin, we started around the same time doing like resin pieces, and I like took a break from it just because like of some situations, and he's just so freaking good. I can't even believe it. Like he just kills it with everything he does, and he really put out some serious amazing work. So go check them out. I need to start doing more things where I share other artists and sculptors and toy stuff on my Instagram, like other people that I follow that I think you guys should check out for sure. All right, so you can see now basically all I'm doing is I'm going over my original sketch and just kind of cleaning things up and just making more finalized decisions. And this is where you can really, things can get a little messy, and I realized I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Oh well, no big deal. We haven't gotten too far. That's one thing I will say that I notice more in Procreate, because I don't have the layers tab constantly open like I do in Photoshop or Illustrator, because the screen's so large I can have it off to the side. That gets a little frustrating. And when I'm drawing on my Cintiq, I just pull my artboard or whatever onto the Cintiq, because all it is essentially is a second screen. It's a second screen that has like a stylus to it, and a lot of people think it's like this big, special thing. It's not. It's just a fancy touchscreen. Oh, hang on 1 second. I gotta restart this, I guess. I don't know what's going on here. 1 second, guys. I think you guys can see. All right, should be good. Sorry about that. There's supposed to be like a clean interface upload with my camera, and occasionally there's like a couple of issues that'll come in. So if this cuts out, let me know. It's still showing up on screen on my end, so I don't know why it's being weird. All right, so we are still, yeah, we're still good. It looks like the feed's still coming. If anything cuts out, let me know, and I'll do my best to make sure that it's fixed in time. It's hard when you're drawing on a tablet and then trying to look at screens and like read text and stuff. I understand why larger channels have moderators now. I never thought that was like something that was necessary for art live streaming, but I get it now. It's so hard to do anything. But yeah, so I guess I'll get into why I haven't been uploading as much content lately and kind of what I'm planning to do to get back into what I was doing before. My current place that I live in is pretty run down and it's pretty beat up, and I have a typical Boston slumlord like many people that live in Boston. And they want us out of the building basically just because we had a roommate that bailed on us like over a month ago, even though we're still paying rent for a place during a pandemic while all of our incomes are strained. This other roommate had to leave for his own thing. He was in school. He's finished with everything now, and he had to bail. So basically, I couldn't afford to pay his portion of rent. Neither could my other roommate. And we figured because of the pandemic and the laws in place, things would be fine. And it's technically they can't push us out because of that. But one of the things for sure I will say is that it's definitely a tactic they're using. So they want us out. And basically, I'm trying to get out sooner than later just because it's hard to find places in Boston as it is, especially with this going on. And we don't really know what the real plan is for most of the universities here. So I'm trying to move before all the people trying to get back into the city do that if schools open back up. So working on moving. But I have a lot of stuff and it's really hard to find a place. And if I can't find a place or like a new kind of full-time gig to kind of offset the expenses, I'm going to have to put all my shit in storage, which I'm trying to avoid. I really am. Hey, what's up, dude? So we got more people in the chat. Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid all that stuff, and it sucks. It's a shitty situation, and like I get it from my landlord's end too. Like they've needed to update and renovate this space for a long time, but it's super run down and they don't fix anything, and it can be a bit of a struggle sometimes here. But I'm currently in the process of trying to move, and without having any real consistent income coming in, it's been a little hard. So that's been kind of a lot of the reasons I've been a little distracted and not able to put out as many fully edited videos. And just because the space is not really conducive for what I was doing before. At the time when I was really cranking out content, I had access to a full design lab while I was working at Converse in their innovations lab. So when I wasn't, working around the clock there, after hours kind of thing, they'd let me use the space to just work on whatever I wanted to work on. So that was cool. And I would only be filming my own projects to make sure I wasn't filming any top secret, industry info. But it was a cool space, and I got to make some really great stuff very easily. And I didn't really have to worry about anything. So that's no longer the case. Once that contract ended abruptly, I ended up getting another contract as a graphic designer there, which was awesome. And I got to produce some shoe graphics, which some of them are basically sold out and you only can get at Converse stores now, that you can't get them online. So a lot of that stuff is gone, but you can still see it on my portfolio website and stuff. So that was cool. A few of the shoes are still up, and some of the graphics are probably still coming out. But yeah, that's kind of like why I was able to produce more. I had more consistent income. I know, but I can't share the top secret stuff I worked on. As stuff comes out and as I'm able to talk more about it, I will. But there's new things coming out that I've worked on that I'm not going to take full credit for because I didn't fully design it, but I did work on like the new recycled like space hippie shoe thing that just launched today. So I worked on those. I've actually helped work on the samples for those, a lot of stuff. So I did a lot of sample work while I was in the innovations. As far as the graphic design stuff goes, like all the graphics have pretty much come out. I don't know if they're using all of them. I produced a lot of graphics while I was there, and the direction of things changed so rapidly that it's there's no way they could use them all. So they pick and choose what's the best fit in the moment. And I know some of them I think are going to make it, some of them aren't, but I don't know which ones, because there's been really zero communication when you're a contracted person for a brand like Converse or Nike, or I would assume same thing with Adidas, Puma, any of those big shoe brands. It just, they don't really care. Like, you're not as important. And I know they don't want, like, that doesn't sound like really nice, and it sounds like kind of insensitive, but it's the truth. You don't matter to them at the end of the day. When you're a contracted person, you're there to do a gig, and that's it, and make a lot of great work and do great things. And at the end of the day, it's kind of, like, you don't really matter, which is fine, like, it's whatever. But it does suck because I did make some great stuff that I wish I could share, but because I don't know if they're going to use it, I can't put it out yet. So until I know that's going to be used, I can't put it out. And holy crap, we got 7 people watching right now. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everyone joining the stream tonight. But yeah, so that's kind of like what happened there. And at the time, I was able to produce a lot of work. Hang on one second, guys. I'll be right back. Looks like we just got someone that came in and is ringing my doorbell right now. Give me just a second. All right, sorry about that. Okay. Let me just make sure everything's still up and running. All right. We are back. Sorry about that. I ordered food forever ago, and it was super late, so I didn't even think about that. I forgot about it. Okay. So yeah, so basically what has been happening lately is that it's been a lot harder for me to produce content just because of the living situation, the lack of space that I currently have to do a lot of the projects I was doing before, and all sorts of different small factors. Yeah, I'm still here. Okay, thanks everybody. Yeah, so I've just been kind of freaking out a little bit. I've been looking for a space for quite a while, even before this, just a workspace. But now it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm sick of dealing with my landlord's, lack of interest in this property, and just the lack of wanting to fix things. Like, we need things that are huge safety risks fixed all the time, and they won't fix it until there's either an extreme health risk, or it's so destroyed and broken that they have to legally come and fix it. And I'm just sick of living like that. So I've been looking for a while. It's been a bit of a struggle. If I don't find anything, like I said, I'm going to have to put all my stuff in storage until I can find something, which I don't want to do because I don't have a laptop. I have, just the iPad and a desktop. Like, I work on an iMac for my main computer as my workstation. So it put a lot of strain on me to really keep my creative business going as a freelancer. And even though I'll get like day jobs occasionally in between contracts and large projects, if I don't have a computer to work on, then I can't really continuously update portfolios, and it makes it a lot harder for me to do that stuff. So we're trying to avoid that, but that is the last case scenario. If I don't find anything in time and I have to kind of like, live wherever I can find, that's not ideal. But keeping it positive, we're trying to do what we can. So I have everything on the site right now is pretty much on sale. We have the strawberry milkshake drop happening tonight at midnight, and that's a super limited run. I won't be making those pieces again, but people seem to really like those. I'm excited about how they came out. They're all hand flocked, so I will actually be pulling one out in a second, which is just like the sample one that I made, and we'll kind of talk about what I'm going to be doing for future drops that I have planned, while I'm still in this place and I still have a place to work. So that's like one of the big things I've been worried about, I've been stressed about, but people have been super supportive, so I really appreciate that. But basically, one of the big things I've been worried about is what I'm going to do with my inventory. I still have a lot of toys left from the initial Kickstarter and the original toy release. Chocolate milkshake in the future is something I have been talking about with some people, but we're trying to figure out the color. And it's all dependent on if this release sells out, if I'm going to continue to do any of the special like Velvet Edition stuff. But if it does sell out, which I'm hoping it will, there's a very limited amount, and people seem to really be hyped on this piece. I will be doing some more different versions, but I don't really want to make promises yet until I know for sure. So if this one sells out in the first 24 hours, that's what I'm giving it. I will definitely be doing another release of a new piece with details following up that one. But it takes a long time to make each one. It's like 15 hours, which is insane. I have to literally dedicate hours and hours of time just to make a single piece. And it gets a little difficult. So that's kind of why I've been a little hesitant on it. It's a long time. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. But people have been super supportive and really great on the channel. I have like links and stuff to everything. I'm going to stream just as long as I really feel like I can handle tonight. We're just going to have fun with it. So that's kind of like the bummer news that's been going on. But small online custom show. That would be pretty rad, actually. It would be awesome. I think right now it's just with my living situation, it's really hard for me to really work on anything like that and commit to projects where I have to be handling a lot of stuff being shipped in and out. And it's just, I can't financially afford to just be handing out toys right now for customizing artists. I wish I could. I really do. Like you guys know my mentality with pretty much everything. If I could give this stuff away, I would. It's just not, fortunately, how the world works. And I need to kind of be able to make enough of a living to stay afloat. But hopefully in the future there will be a custom show. There's not many pieces left in terms of being able to do a custom show, but yeah, I'm hoping people would be able to buy the inventory if I did a show. It's still going to be just, it's hard for me to organize something like that right now, like I said, with just the current state of the world and my living situation and not having a studio space. But it is something that has been talked about with some friends of mine and some other toy artists. A few artists have gotten pieces privately from me to do customs, and some people that are neighbors that are phenomenal toy artists, but he does not like to have his presence kind of known on social media, so out of respect, I'm not going to blow up his spot. Yeah, I think I could maybe plan something in the future. Right now, it's just kind of like up in the air. My main thing is there's not a lot of pieces that were originally made in the first place. As far as like other artists go, I made 300 pieces total of all toys. So 150 of Boomer, 150 of Doomer, and then within each of that, there was only 50 in each individual color. So that's pretty insane when you think about a toy. For customs, like there's less than I think 50 of the Kickstarter editions combined with both the Boomer and Doomer models. So like that's insane. There's not many of those. So a lot of people ask about that stuff. There's not many of them as far as available units compared to a lot of other toy artists that do larger runs than I can afford to do. So that's why everything's been pretty slow going, and these limited releases are going to continue to be in such small batches of like anywhere from 10 pieces max, some even less. So we're going to see how things go. I have plans, and I have available 10 of the Strawberry Milkshake Boomers, and then there's a Strawberry Milkshake edition Doomer, which will be posted alongside it tonight. I didn't market that one as much and didn't go into press as much with that one. I do still have stencils, actually. I will put those up tonight. I do still have the Boomer stencils available. I thought they were on the website, but someone asked about them recently, and apparently I didn't have them up. Those will be going up tonight also at midnight. Those will be available. Those are extremely limited. I don't have access to a laser cutter anymore, so I can't do those. And sorry, my hair keeps getting in the way of this shot. I'm just seeing it now on screen. Those will be available. I'm also offering free shipping on orders over specific amounts tonight and for the next foreseeable future. Just so if people want to get the drop tonight and also some of the original pieces or blanks so they can do their own stuff, they can do that and get it all shipped at once. And it'll be free shipping for anyone that scores one of the strawberry milkshake drops. They can get other pieces that are on sale and other merch. So all the stickers, the pins, all that stuff is small, but it takes up a lot of space, and it's a lot of inventory to kind of store and move around with. That's fragile in comparison to like the things like the toys, which are in large boxes. That stuff, like stickers, they can bend and they can get destroyed if they are not properly stored. So I have all that stuff properly stored, but if I get displaced, I'm not going to be able to really control the environmental conditions that I might have to keep them in a storage unit. And the storage units costs are just almost as expensive as renting an actual apartment here. It's kind of insane. But like I said, we're going to keep it optimistic. We're going to hope for the best. We're going to hope that I don't have to do that. I'm giving myself until September 1st to really move and all that. And we'll see what happens. I'm keeping it optimistic. The channel's been doing great, and you guys have been awesome. Like I said earlier, it's already over what I thought was even possible on the channel, so that's huge. I never thought it would even come close to where it is right now. So being at like 660 is awesome. We're shooting for 700 still. That's the goal. My birthday is in 11 days, and that's the goal. I'm hoping by my birthday I can have up to 700. It's very optimistic. But I've had days where I'll jump over 10 subs out of nowhere, which is awesome. I'm going to try to keep pushing videos out. I did have some stuff lined up on a queue on the Discord, so if you guys are on the Discord server, you might have seen some of the stuff that's planned. We have Studio Vlog 8, where I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about like my situation and like my place and things that I'm planning to do, and some of the art goals I have right now. Some of the big art goals that I have are obviously to get a new place so I can make more work, but I want to start painting again and doing more traditional media stuff instead of just digital stuff. I want to do more toy sculpting and making resin pieces, which I have not been able to do for over a year, which really sucks. I really wish I could do more resin work, but because of where I am again and not having a proper space to work in, resin stuff's super toxic, and if you don't have a safe environment, it's like really harmful. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. We got that going on. We have more merch and destroy stuff planned. So we have some patches planned, which is awesome. So I'm going to show you guys my process of taking one of my designs, which is currently a sticker design, and how I can edit it and adjust it and work with a company to make embroidered patches. So we're working on that one. We have a few other ones planned, some other vlog plans, collaborations with some friends of mine, which might be coming up. We're just planning out all the logistics of it and all that. So that's pretty awesome. There's so many things I have planned. I don't know. It's easy to have plans, right? It's hard to execute the plans properly. So that's the stuff I've been struggling with, which you guys have been seeing. You guys know already. It's hard to do this stuff, to film yourself and to work at the same time, and then to edit and all that. So I do really appreciate everyone's patience and understanding that it is such a time-consuming process sometimes to work as a creative, that it's hard to keep schedules and deadlines because things that are unforeseen come up. And like, I'm still getting some client work, which is great, and I'm getting requests for commissions, but I can't take them on, which sucks because I don't have the space. But I do plan to keep pushing through and doing some stuff. And let me just finish up the rest of this line work here, and then we'll turn off this underlayer, check out the drawing, and then we'll I'm going to actually bring the toy out so you guys can see it. So I'm super pumped. Again, thanks everyone that's watching the stream. 7 people. This is like the highest we ever get. So pretty awesome. It's been pretty consistently around 7 people viewing the stream. So that's awesome. Super grateful. Thank you guys. We also have in the description, if you guys did check that out, there are links to the Discord. There are links to the donations, which there's zero obligation for anyone to do. But if you want to support the channel, you can do so there. It's just like a link to our Streamlabs, and basically you can do donations there. But I would prefer, if you guys want to do that, go just get something on the site, get something cool, get some rad merch, get some original pieces, stuff like that. Day's been all right, man. Welcome back. Welcome to the stream. It's been okay. It's been like a bit of a long day. I was up all night working on my new design book, which is just like a graphic design term for portfolio. So I've been working on that. Sorry, I keep getting in the way of the shot. I'm noticing it now on screen. Yeah, I've been just working on my design stuff. So I was up all night and I got up super late, which I feel like a total bum, just because I haven't been able to like kind of stay up and like pull all the nighters anymore. But yeah, it's been all right. Yeah, working on this. This might be some new merch in the future. And now I'm just seeing things that like I would miss normally. Like this should have a weird connection down here. Yeah, dude, my sleep schedule is just non-existent. I've been trying to be better about it and forcing myself to try to like stay awake and somewhat get a normal sleep schedule again. But yeah, mine's all messed up too, man. It's been pretty bad. But I'm gonna grab the strawberry milkshake drop so you guys can see it, but I'm not gonna be adjusting the lighting, so give me just a second. It's on my other desk. Okay, so here is the strawberry milkshake drop. Let me just kind of get everything set up here so you guys can see it. Bam. All right, so this is the strawberry milkshake drop. It's a little hard to see with this lighting, so sorry, it's not the best. I'm going to put it back in the center so you guys can kind of see it. I'm really happy with how these came out. These are all hand flocked individually. Small details here and there that super happy with these, man. I'm pumped. I'm really excited. I had the idea to do this and I just went for it and it worked out. So these are all hand flocked by hand. They take 15 hours each. It is possible there's small surface blemishes because it's hand painted on and then hand flocked. So there's no spray application on these at all. So cool thing about it, other than it being hot pink, and sorry this lighting's bad, but you guys have seen the photos on Instagram and they will be up tonight at midnight. There's a very limited amount available. The coolest thing I think is that they're strawberry milkshake scented. So I had to really figure that one out. It took me a long time, but I did figure out a way to do it. So they are all strawberry milkshake scented. I did my best to make sure that they're not too overpowering and they're not, super insane. But very limited. I have 10 pieces slotted available on the website, but I'm only keeping that up probably for 24 hours. So if they sell out within 24 hours, there will be a smaller additional release of 3 more, and that's it. So there will be 13 total available maximum if this sells out in 24 hours. There also will be the second version with the grenade top, which is the Doomer character. There's going to be even less of those available, so that's going to be kind of the focus. There's going to be even less of those. Current price, I have them set at $100 just because they take 15 hours each to make, and I thought it was more than fair. but I'm offering the free shipping to all orders that go over 150. So if you want to pick this drop up plus anything else, it's free shipping anywhere in the US. So stickers, pins, merch, everything. The goal is to I got to clear out all of these and as much inventory as possible, and I don't want to charge people a lot for shipping. So I'm going to do free shipping on everything over 150. That more covers the cost of boxes, packaging, all that, and the merch, where there's enough room for me to make enough profit for it to be helpful. But yeah, anyone that's a toy collector, anyone that, is interested, they're going to be available tonight at midnight. I'm just really happy with how they came out. Just the velvety feeling and the hot pink. I wish the camera had a slightly better quality right now so you guys could see how great these are. These will be in Studio Vlog 8, which is going to be dropping hopefully on Sunday, Tuesday the latest. I just have some things that are coming up, so that's in the works. I'm also going to probably be taking you guys along when I go to check out some apartments, so you guys can kind of get a first-hand experience of what I'm dealing with as far as trying to find a place. But checking things out, pretty happy with how these came out. The biggest thing too is that these aren't articulated anymore because the joints are so tight on the arms. I couldn't take them off and then flock them and put them back on without damaging the body. So the arms are stationary. The tops will still rotate freely, but the arms, I'd recommend not moving them just because the space is so tight that if you move them, it could damage the flocking. The scenting is only done with a fragrance oil that's infused with the flocking. So it should last quite a while, but the potency is low with the intention because I don't want it to be so nauseating that you can't have it out on your desk. I wanted to make sure that it was like a proper thing. Wow, we got 9 people watching the stream. Thank you guys. That's seriously, that means a lot. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pumped on these guys. I'm so stoked. The next one, I'm gonna let you guys know, everyone that's on the stream, will be an all black velvet edition. I have not figured out how many pieces. That might be it will definitely be limited like this one, and probably won't go above 13 pieces available, just like this one. But we're starting out with 10 to start. And if those sell in the first 24 hours, like this one, 3 more will be made available for raffle only for people that missed it. So those will be raffle. Yeah, thank you. I'm pumped on this one. The next drop, how to do it? Yeah, I can do insured shipping specifically if you request it. And I'm sorry, I gotta tempt you with that black velvet, man. It looks so sick. One of the other ones I've been working on, which I did sneak a little photo of, one of the components is the Mace edition. So this piece here, I did as a sample test to stud it with real metal studs all the way around. Now this was hard to make because I actually had to remove this top piece, which is glued down on the figure. I had to cut into here on the bottom. So the actual top itself, I had to cut in here, remove this, drill holes, and then fit a screwdriver in at an angle and tighten these studs down. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do this the best way, but I haven't really figured it out yet. So this will be for a possible future drop of like medieval inspired weapons where Boomer gets turned into a mace. So that's something that's planned. I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it should be pretty sick. I'm pretty pumped on it. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for being so supportive. It's awesome to have 9 people viewing my stream is insane. That's pretty big for me. I'm still a really small channel in comparison to so many that are out there. So for you guys to really stick around and be super supportive the whole time means so much to me as an independent artist and creator. And it's just cool, it's like there's not much I get to do anymore. And sorry, let me fix the camera. Looks like we're running into some issues. Okay. Yeah, so as a independent creator, it's hard for me sometimes to really make a lot of things and share my work. And because of people like you guys that have been supporting the channel and supporting a lot of the creative endeavors I've been fortunate enough to work on in the last few years, I've been able to do things I never thought were possible, and doing my own vinyl toy was one of them. So it would not have existed without you guys, 100%. There's no question about it in my mind. I know for a fact that I would not have been able to do it without you guys. So whenever I have the opportunity to make a product, I try to make it as affordable as I can. I get as close as possible to cost, and I almost never charge for labor time. Almost never charge for it when it comes to my own work, you know, when it comes to making a piece that you guys might be able to enjoy. I just want to get my work out there and do it as affordably as possible, and I've always tried my best to do that, and I know sometimes it's hard, but I'm not doing crazy $600 drops, you know. I wish I could sometimes, but only so I can make more shit, not because I need to have that sort of ego or anything. I want to make more shit. All right, so we're going to go back over now that you guys have kind of seen a little sneak peek of the toy. We're going to finish up this drawing. And I don't like how these teeth came out at all. They're like a little wonky, but it's a little fun if we go with that stippling style I've been doing lately. So let's give that a shot. And we'll give it a go. There's a few brushes that I use. You can do this with whatever you want as well if you're following along and drawing. You don't need all this shit to make great work. These are just brushes that I've become kind of fond of because they're like got a nice messy style. They have a feel to them that I'm fond of. And that's really the only reason I use them. But these are from True Grit Texture Supply. If you guys aren't familiar with that company, you should check them out. They make really great brushes and stuff that I 100% stand by as far as an artist. So we have this paper texture. This is also from them. And they do great bundle deals, but I use a lot of their stuff in my everyday design work, so I've purchased bundles from them to offset expenses and costs and whatnot. Now the brush that I'm using is like a weird dot brush, and it gives it like a nice texture. I'm going to just try a few of them out. They have some stuff that I really like and some stuff that's kind of, you know, it's okay. Yeah, there's the one that I like. So we're going to just line this drawing. And this kind of actually imitates how, if you're working with like a micron pen on a really textured paper, the blottiness that you get, or like working with a felt tip marker on rough paper. That's what this emulates, and I do a lot of that. I use a lot of texturing. Let's just turn off the paper texture so it's not as distracting. Okay. And the main focus here is we're just getting the line work where we want it. And we're going to do our separations where we need to do them to make sure that we have really great coverage. Yeah, it's really great actually being able to do a lot of the live stream stuff. And before, when I was doing that 40-hour challenge with all like the music and stuff, it was really hard to do because I kept getting my videos taken down. Basically because they thought I was using music I didn't have permission for, but I do have a license for. So I won't be doing that in the future. I won't be doing any of that stuff either. So we're just going to be making great videos, trying to make really good content. We're just going to keep cranking stuff out, you know, and that's the plan. So I was going to talk about some of the art goals. Other than being able to get back into painting when I find a new place, one of the big things is obviously I want to do toys and more merch videos. But I want you guys to be able to actually make suggestions for things you want to learn about that I might be able to help you with. And that was sort of the whole reason I made the Merch and Destroy series. If you guys haven't checked that out, there's a video on my channel called Merch and Destroy about making stickers. So if you guys want to check that out and learn a little bit more about that series, definitely check it out. It was kind of cool. I put a lot of time and hard work into it, even though the video quality production is a little low. But that's just, you know, comes with the territory. All right, so we're just finishing up lining this piece here. I'm keeping it a little sloppy because there's some things that I didn't really figure out as far as detail goes that I'm going to hide it with some shading. And the thunderstorm has stopped, so less background noise. All right, so we're going to be coloring this in with some other elements. So we're going to keep the line work in sections. So we're going to do all the line work in sections just because we might colorize it. And that's why it's another great thing about working with layers, that you can do that. You can make different sections, have solid line work. You can mask things off that way. It's just a bunch of useful stuff for it. So I'm working on a bunch of things for October. October is the busiest time of year for me. It's also my favorite time of year to do weird creative projects. I make a lot of weird, dark, and kind of macabre things. It's just stuff I've always liked to draw, and it's fun, and I like really campy, cheeky Halloween horror movie stuff. So that's what all this stuff's going to be that I'm working on right now for personal work. So this will probably turn into some form of merch, and I'm pretty pumped about it. I've been having fun just getting back to drawing stuff like this as well. Like the 40-hour challenge, which I streamed as much as I could. It kind of lit a fire under me to do other things, that I haven't really been doing. And making my own weird Halloween-inspired merch is one of those things that I've really wanted to do. And we're getting prepared. So anyone that doesn't have industry experience or work in any form of production as a creative, this is the latest time to start. If you're like in fast fashion, occasionally this will be like the time frame that you have to make stuff for October will be until the first or second week of August, because you need to get it out to production. But typically it's like 6 to 9 months production before a season drop that you'll be working on the following year. So, but things have been crazy, a little hectic, and I didn't think I'd be able to do that this year. But we're doing simple things that I can produce within the course of a week or two at most, as far as production goes. So stickers, they print very fast, and I have really great relationships with the printers I work with for stickers. So they do a great job of making sure I get all that stuff when I need it and when I have a schedule and deadline. All right, so let's just take a look at our line work so far. So turn this layer off, and you can see we have the line work starting to form. I'm going to do the rest of it as quickly as I can. So if you guys have questions, obviously feel free to let me know. It's also good to check your work. You'll get stray lines occasionally. Sorry, coffee break. Yeah, so you'll occasionally get like little stray lines here and there, but no big deal. And you can make final line decisions while you're lining or inking. I do that a lot, even with pieces. It's like when you get friends that do tattoo stuff, or you do tattoo stuff, they'll like change a line from the stencil slightly just because it's better in the moment. I do that stuff all the time while I'm inking as well. It's just like you'll see it in the moment. It doesn't necessarily always become clear until you're inking with the proper line weight or something that you see you need to do that. And you can add textures, and I'm planning to do a stippled shading look with this by using color. So I'm just keeping things pretty open for right now. I'm just picking and choosing the lines I want to really be defined, because they're going to be kind of sculpted in a little bit as I'm moving along, just to give it a very specific kind of clunky look that I'm going for this. When you look at old like Halloween decorations and illustrations, they're really clunky on purpose, and they're not super detailed because they did a lot of offset printing with all that stuff. Most of it was printed on paper and cardstock, so everything had to be pretty simple. And you could get detailed stuff, but it usually is very simple in line and in definition and all that. All right. So yeah, we're moving along. I'm gonna do the feet separately in a different color. We'll do the top part, and then we'll start adding in some details that are a bit more specific again to the illustration. So I want this to be like a gearbox piece, little gear crank. And there's also that snap to grid feature, which I didn't talk about before, which I really do think makes Procreate a much better program for when you're drawing stuff quickly and not really thinking about it. That feature alone has made my life so much easier. To get fine art prints made, depending where you are in the world, there's a ton of places to get them made. It's more so figuring out what you're specifically looking for, if you're looking for screen printed or digitally printed prints. I use a lot of print on demand websites personally, just because I can't properly store prints, and people ask for them often from me, but it's very rare that they actually sell when I do get them made. So I don't currently do that anymore. I don't have a lot of stock in prints, but a lot of print on demand websites are a good option when you first start out. So if you're in Los Angeles, there's options like Redbubble, there's Jack's Prints, which is great. And then there's a lot of independent screen printers. If you're looking for that route of fine art style, I would highly recommend it because the quality is great. But I always recommend going locally if you can, because you're going to be able to go and actually work with your printer directly on an effect. And it's a lot easier to get quality work done with a local screen printer half of the time than it is to work with another company that, they're just cranking out a lot of work and not really paying attention to the details. But I will go over doing prints and stuff in a feature merge and destroy video, because it is something that I do have experience with. I just don't do a lot of it for myself anymore, just because I'm not going to events as often and all that. But print on demand sites, Society6, Redbubble, the quality of prints are good, but their dimensions aren't the greatest. They have like a few little hiccups here and there. Yeah, dude, if you can keep all your stuff in LA, I recommend it. If that's what I highly recommend it. I'm in Boston, and I have some people that I work with that are great printers that I know personally. If I need things done, I'll work with them. Just because I know them, I know the business, I know their quality, I know they work hard. And that's what you want with a good printer when it comes to doing really fine art stuff. If you're looking to do screen printed stuff, if you're looking to do digital printing, there's so many options out there. It's really just finding a company that is going to take the time to make sure that your artwork looks how you intended it to look. And I would just do research on offset printing, so you're familiar with CYMK printing versus RGB color spectrum. So RGB color spectrum is what is used for almost every single digital application to view anything. And CYMK is for offset printing specifically, because it has a color gamut that prints in 4 colors to make up a range of colors, whereas RGB is a wider, more vibrant range, which allows them to have different dynamics and depth with light and shadow. So you have a brightness setting on your screen, and that can adjust the opacity, vibrancy of a color on screen, but you can't do that in the real world with print because it's not backlit. So something to think about. CYMK is typically just a slightly darker application, so there's different things that your printer might be able to do and achieve for you with that in mind. So you might have a color that's obnoxiously bright, and you might need to do a spot color instead of do CYMK. So that's something to think about. And again, it goes into the styles of prints you're planning to make. I like companies that do on-demand printing, and I'll usually do that for most of my prints. If I'm not going to be able to screen print it myself or work with one of my print friends on it, that's what I'll do. So yeah, Jack's Prints I know is pretty good. They do some good stuff as far as a large commercial printer goes, but you'll definitely be able to find a nice small print house that'll do phenomenal work for you and want to make sure that the quality is the best it can be. All right, so we're gonna go and pick the color palette in a second. Sorry, I'm getting all like jumbled up with my words trying to do this. This tooth I'm gonna make much smaller because it just looks weird. All right, here we go. Yeah, man, anytime. That's actually why the channel got started originally, was just I get a lot of questions, and I wanted to be able to like, kind of share the cool stuff I was making. So I'm always down to share any of the tips I have. If you guys ever have questions, definitely reach out. If I know how to do something, I will do my best to answer. All right, we're going to do the eyes next. Now I'm lining these on a different layer because I might do an overlay of the line work. And I might want to change some things. And we're going to keep this pretty simple. We're going to probably do 4 colors max, which is a lot for a graphic like this. That would be in that traditional kind of campy Halloween style of old Halloween decorations. They would usually do stuff in 2 to 3 colors max. Again, that's a offset printing type of rule and general design principle for anything that's screen printed or letterpress printed. Fewer colors makes the overall production cheaper. That's why. And that's like a lot of streetwear brands. People always do like the red and the white, and they don't understand where that comes from. That comes from because red was the cheapest color to print on a white shirt. So it's like everyone hypes up the Supreme stuff. The only reason that they probably did that in the first place was because it was the cheapest option in the beginning when they first started. So that's like just kind of a little design perspective. Like there's a reason for things and why they've developed an aesthetic over time, and it's solely because it was utility based in the beginning. So that's the same thing with these designs. They were seasonal, they were small production, and they were made by companies that did everything from, regular Christmas and other holiday decorations to doing stuff like this. All right, so we're going to make a palette. We're going to do like a neon green. I usually draw my palette on a separate layer to quickly grab it when I need it. So we'll draw a circle. We'll pinch that down. We'll just fill it with our color. We got a cool green. I want a nice orange and a yellow and possibly black. So we're going to just experiment. We're going to find colors we like. You could make a palette ahead of time. We're just doing this on the fly. So we're going to pick colors that we think will look good. These green, all right. The yellow, I'm not as happy with. So we get a more vibrant. There we go. We want it to have a bit more of like a reddish hue on that green. And let's get an orange going. It's pretty good, but let's get really orange. Bring this down a bit. All right. And just because we can, let's find a purple that might work. In the beginning, it's just finding out what colors you want, and you can change all this stuff if you work in layers, but we're just building out a palette, a simple palette. And purple's a little too bright. Let's get one that's nice and dark. You want to be able to still have contrast, so that's one of the things that you'll look for. Yeah, there we go. That's like a nice contrast. So if we don't go with black, we'll probably do like a dark purple like that. And then we'll just keep everything like weird colors. We're going to start with a green. And I think we're going to make all of the gums like the neon green and like the weird veiny parts green. Now we're going to make a layer underneath our line work to do that. So we'll make a new layer and we'll select this color. And we'll just pick something to fill it in. I like to keep stuff pretty similar when I'm working, so we're going to actually keep it with that weird sort of stipply brush that we've been using, and then we'll just fill in color as we need it. So we're going to make it much larger just to kind of fill in a little faster. We don't want to go too far over the lines. We can do that for like the offset printing effect, but we want to just still make it feel authentic. Now you can add like highlights as you're going. I usually will fill this with lots of color first, and then I'll either add a color highlight or I'll grab the eraser or make a clipping mask and do it that way. And you can add shadows and stuff as well, depending how you want to do this. I'm going to be using the dots to make my shadows, I believe, in this, or I'll pick one of the other colors, but we'll see. We know we have a highlight already figured out on this, which will be yellow, and the yellow will work really great with the green and the orange. That'll happen, man, when you first start casting. You think you have enough, and then you end up running into issues. But the good news is, if you can get the silicone fast enough, make sure that you have like a release agent if you're doing a 2-part mold. Make sure you put that on before you get the new silicone, because it will bond to the old silicone really well. And I'm just going back with the eraser and cleaning some stuff up. That's a mistake, and we're doing this really rough to give it that sort of printed feel. And I could take this in after into Photoshop and really do all sorts of different effects to it, but and if you guys want to check out the Discord, there should be a link in the description to the Discord server, so you guys can check that out there. We got a bunch of cool things that are always being discussed in there as far as materials, techniques. People share their work, which is awesome, and just general discussion. We try to have some fun in there. So that's still open. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the chat too, so if it takes a while for me to respond, I'm sorry. There's some latency, and there's also me focusing on the drawing a little too much. But yeah, it's great that you guys are viewing. It's awesome. We've had great viewership this entire stream, so I'm super grateful for that. Thank you guys. Yeah, it's okay. Like when you start learning more about the process of making molds, you'll figure out typically how much you need. And the good thing too is like there's ways to recycle your old molds that are failed, as long as they're clean and they're not getting cure inhibition where like the silicone doesn't harden all the way. If they're properly cured molds, you can actually cut up your old molds and throw those chunks in new silicone while it's being poured onto something. So you do like a brush coat first, and you'll throw the chunks on, and that will actually fill in a lot of the space, and you can recycle silicone and save silicone that way with molds that are failed but are properly cured. I used to do that all the time. All right, it's getting there. We're getting there, guys. It's starting to fill in. Not too bad. And we're keeping it pretty rough. Like I said, we're doing that intentionally. That's on purpose. We wanted to give it that feel. If things get too crazy, we just go back with the eraser and fix it. And there are other things you can do in Photoshop if you want to work a little bit cleaner. So you have the option for multiple versions of a clean version, and then one that's got like an offset printed look. You can do all that in Photoshop. But I know I want this to be rough, and I don't plan to make a cleaner version. I want it to have these textures. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think the teeth are going to probably be like a mixture of oranges and yellows. The eyes are definitely going to be like a type of yellow. Maybe we might throw in a fourth color. We'll see. All right, the greens look good. Now we're just going to outline underneath the line work as close as we can get it. Everything that's going to be green. And I didn't really like plan out this little crank dial too well. It's just kind of like roughly drawn, but I want it to be very crudely drawn on purpose. That adds to the effect and the style. And sometimes if I like look at a small part, I'll over detail it for the style of art. So it's good to keep it as simple as possible in the beginning and then maybe fix it later on while you start adding colors and stuff, because you might be able to hide it in all the shadows and effects. Oh yeah, the Sculpey, that's like the adhesive stuff or like the smoothing stuff. Yeah, the stuff is pretty great. I use epoxy sculpts primarily when I sculpt now, just because it's like an air dry system, and I don't have to bake clays or anything like that. But it takes like 4 hours for it to cure. So depending how you work, it's not always the greatest, and the material is expensive. But I usually build a base out of a foam or like wood, and I'll seal it and then put the epoxy sculpt over those bases to save material, tinfoil as well. You do the same thing with Sculpey, but I just don't like bake it as often. Like I'd always have parts that are slightly too thin or slightly too thick, and wouldn't get consistent baking for a while. So I moved to epoxy sculpt because I can smooth it out with water, and within 4 hours, once it's cured, I can sand it really quickly. So for my working flow and how I sculpt pretty slow. I take a long time to get details right, and I use a lot of subtractive sculpting, so I'll add a lot more material than I necessarily need, and then I'll actually sand it away or Dremel it away to get a proper effect that I'm going for. All right, we're gonna fill in the rest of this, so we're gonna take just our little drag over it. Now you can see it's a little hard to read because of the solid blocks of color, and that's okay. We're gonna add all those highlights and stuff in a minute. We're gonna use the yellow, and I think the purple is just gonna be too dark, so we're just gonna ignore that for now. And we're gonna do the green solid, and we're not gonna worry about staying in the lines of the teeth. We're gonna just draw a simple line over it, and it's a lot easier to subtract with the eraser. So that's another benefit of working digitally. Yeah, that's true with the smoothing stuff for some of the clay. Sorry, I was just reading that comment there. Yeah, that's true. You can definitely make your piece way too oily, and it's not good for casting. So that's definitely something to be aware of. I always have everything coated in primer and then sanded to a final finish that I'm going for, and then it's seal coated with a type of clear coat depending on the finish I'm going for. If I'm going for like a crystal clear finish, I'll use a high gloss clear coat, and then I'll usually I'll polish sand that from 800 grit to 3000 grit, and then water like wet sand it until it's perfect. All right, so we're just drawing this line and then grooves on the teeth. That's why I'm doing it like this, because some areas they don't have deep enough gaps to make it worth tracing into. So we're just doing that, and then we'll fill it, and then we'll fix it. Filled, grab the eraser. It's a lot easier to do it this way, in my opinion. Now, if I wanted to really worry about this, I could either erase it or go on top. After looking at this, we'll probably just erase it. It's not that big a deal, but I could just draw on top with a color as well. And sometimes when you're doing screen printed stuff or working digitally, they'll do things like that to give it more depth and a bit more control. But yeah, that's okay. That looks fine. Another option is like the freehand selection tool, which I really like to use. You can just draw in a selection, or you can use it like a regular pen tool, and you can just delete it. So 3 fingers swipe down. Oops, sorry. And you just hit cut, and then you'll be able to go back to your main arrow. Oh, moving stuff all over. And that area has been removed. So that's what I'll typically do for areas like that where I gotta, be a little careful, and there's little spots I need to make sure have darker areas. But we'll go with that technique again so you can see it. We're just grabbing and tracing inside the artwork. And we're gonna loop back in. And like I said, you don't have to do this method. You can do a bunch of other ones, whatever works for you. This is just what works for me. Sorry, let me make sure this is still recording. So the camera's got some limitations. I'm still figuring all that out. it starts recording and then it stops. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, the views are killing it today. That's awesome. We got up to like 9 for a while for like 20 minutes, so that's crazy actually. So I'm super grateful for that. Thank you guys. The streaming viewership's been great. The likes on the video are super helpful. And this definitely helps with my overall like YouTube analytics for watch time, which is a huge metric on the platform. So when you guys watch the live streams, it really helps because if 7 people are watching for an hour, that's 7 watch time hours, which is huge. That's a massive thing. So super grateful for that. Other things that we have on the channel right now. So we have, obviously, we were talking about the drop that's happening on the website tonight, but we have the subscriber count up there so you guys can see that. The goal is to get to 700 by my birthday, which is on the 4th. So that's a lot for 11 days, but it is possible. We'll see. I'm being a little optimistic. We're shooting for that goal. We're at basically 95% on that, so that's huge. All right. Got that going. Now we're going to do the yellow layer next. Now there's a few ways we could do this. We can grab a selection tool and grab this, or use a another technique on the layer which uses the lines as essentially a clipping mask type deal. We're going to keep it a little bit easier. We're going to just make a yellow layer. We're going to do 2 of them. So we're going to do an underlayer on the line work, which is just, I don't know, I feel like I'm explaining terms you guys might know, but we're just going to fill this in the same technique. So teeth that are grouped together, we're going to follow those and just fill them in. And we're going to be a little bit more cautious with this just because it's a bit more important. So we'll make the brush size a little bit smaller just because we want to make sure those details are really captured well. And I'm underneath the black line, but I'm tracing halfway underneath and then halfway into the actual layer. Then we'll drag the color in like that. And we'll touch up areas that we think need it. And a lot of the white spots you guys are seeing, this is going to go onto a textured paper background as a mock-up, so you guys will be able to see why it doesn't necessarily matter so much, because there's not going to be bright white spots. And now we have a section where the teeth are all connected, so now we can speed this up. So we'll start here, go around. And the main thing when it comes to being an illustrator like this, where you're doing weird production pieces, anything you can do to help save you time to create a great image, it's more like creative problem solving. That's something you want to learn, a technique you want to learn to get your ideas across faster, because there's a limited amount of time if you work in production to really think about stuff. You got to try as many things as possible until something starts to stick, and then you can render it out further. That's what we're doing with this. So this is an idea that was once a sketch, and now we're doing a quick little color rendering version. And then if I like it, I'll do a cleaner version and just add more details and fix things. And then it'll go into Photoshop, and we'll do some even finer detailing and tweaks and stuff to make it more of a professional illustration. So I actually thought about making this as a toy because those little chatter teeth things exist, and I was looking it up, and there's definitely like little fang ones that are out there that people have made in the past for Halloween stuff. So I thought, I'm like, oh, I have this super original idea. So I don't have this super original idea, but I do want to make my own version with like the eyeballs and stuff and the weird monster feet. So that might be one of the merch and destroy videos that I make about making your own toys or novelty bootleg toys. So I might get a pair of those teeth, and I'll show you how to sculpt on other details and how to take it apart and find those parts other places and make your own in production and casting and stuff. And you can see all I'm doing, like I was saying before, I'm just tracing halfway underneath the black line, halfway into the regular one. And then boom, there we go. It's filled in all the teeth super fast. The eyes are going to be the same color. We're going to go with a bright yellow on the eyes. We're going to keep the yellow all on the same layer. And I haven't been labeling the layers, which is bad because I'm just working kind of for fun and doing this really fast. But normally you'd label every single layer that you have with the color or what it is. But we're working fast, we're working for fun. The more technical stuff is for the main channel, where I'll go in depth more and explain those things. But if you guys have questions about anything, definitely feel free to ask. All right. So we're still doing pretty great on metrics, guys. Thank you so much. 10 likes on the video. That's insane. And we've only been going for like an hour and a half total time. So that's huge. That's a great metric for me right now. So thank you guys. I really appreciate that. That brings the watch time up a lot. And if you guys share this stuff too, that really helps out. Viewership, likes, and just people sharing the channel has been a huge support system, especially if you want to support and you necessarily can't buy something from the store or do like the donations link. Sharing the channel is huge, so all that support really helps out a lot, guys. All right, just moving along here. And it's like cooled down a little bit with the storm that was just happening. So when I first started the stream, there was like a crazy thunder lightning storm going on. So lots of noise. It was downpouring. Okay, so we got everything there. Now, one thing I did realize that I didn't do was because this layer is on top of the green, I need to outline this piece and then give it a border, because if I drop color in, it would just cover all the green because the yellow is sitting on top of it. And we're just working right now, and we don't need to worry about color separation so much, but if you're doing this for production, you would just do the highlights on this layer as well, or do them on a separate layer, then merge them so they're all in one. And you would arrange all your colors and do all your knockouts. All right, so that's everything we're gonna need. We have all the parts of the eyes outlined, so we're just gonna drop in color. So the eyes are completely yellow now. We have all these teeth down here. And this area is gonna be filled in with black or like a darker shadow color. And the line work can be changed to whatever you want. You could change it to a purple. You could do whatever. We could change it to the orange. Whatever you think looks best for your work. But we're going to keep it black because it's simple. And we're going to just make this a 4-color design. Sorry about the small dog barking. My upstairs neighbors have a puppy that barks a lot. But it's a super cute dog, so it's totally fine. Yeah, it's only a few hours to the drop, so that's pretty exciting. We're exactly 6 hours away from the Boomer Strawberry Milkshake Edition Velvet drop, so that's going to be happening in a little bit. So if you guys want to grab that piece, it's very limited. It does drop at midnight on wolfpits.com, and I'm really excited about it. Everyone's been super hyped on it, and it's probably it's my most successful post I've ever had on Instagram was actually the photo of that piece ever. In all the years of me being on Instagram and being fairly active, that's the highest performing post I've ever gotten, and it wasn't an advertisement or anything, so People are pumped on it. I think it might do really well, and I'm just excited. I don't know. I'm trying to keep it positive. There's a lot of like shittiness going on in my life and career, but this has been a huge uplifting moment for you guys to be so supportive of something that was literally just an idea in a notebook a few weeks ago, and now it's like turned into a real thing. I feel you, man. I get it. I do have some other releases planned in the future for sure. So those are things that I got planned out. So hopefully we can get you on the next one. And I don't want anyone to ever feel obligated that they need to purchase any of my stuff at all. Like, I get it completely. I'm in a similar boat to a lot of people that watch stuff on my channel. So don't ever feel obligated to need to purchase or donate or any of that shit. Watching the channel and just like supporting and hanging out is more than enough. Okay, so we have the eyes all filled out. Everything's good to go on that. We're going to add the highlights now to some of the areas in the, like on top of the green. And we're just going to make one more layer above. So we're going to have our fill yellow. We're going to rename this fill yellow. And we'll rename this one fill green just so we know what they are. All right, so there we go. So we have the main layers that we need all figured out. We're gonna put all of our sketch layers and stuff. We're gonna group all those together. So we'll just grab those, and we'll just hit a little folder, and we'll call that new group sketch. Come on. Okay. That always happens at like the worst time. Okay, so that's all there. We know everything we need. The eyeball ones up here, we're just going to keep floating for now because those might change color. So we're going to grab a new layer. We're going to name this one yellow highlights. I just abbreviate stuff. I know what I'm looking for. So that's what it'll be. I'll like always abbreviate them something weird, and I'm like, those letters are in it. I know what it is. Okay. So we got our brushes here. Now we could do a few things. We could start with like one of these stipple shading brushes as our fill for the highlights, which we might do. We're going to see how it looks, and if we don't like it, we're going to just stick to simple lines. But we'll zoom into an area that we plan to do a highlight, and we'll throw it in, and we'll see how it looks. It's a little too big. Let's bring the brush size down quite a bit. There we go. Not too bad. Brush size a little bit larger. There we go. That's exactly what we want. We want it to be just like that. We're going to add little spot highlights to different areas, and if it gets confusing, you can turn off fill layers. So we're going to turn off the fill layer just for a little bit, just so we can see what we're doing. And if you like zoom out, you'll start to see like that has a great effect and does a lot of great detail very quickly on something like this. And you just want to really think about light and shadow. If you're not really someone that draws a lot and you don't draw from life, you might need some form of reference to understand light and shadow a little bit better. And it's okay if it's crude and messy for this style. That's what these typically are, because a lot of people that used to do this stuff would be people that are production, like graphic designers that aren't necessarily real illustrators or artists, and they would be forced to do this because it's a quick thing they need for the season. So that's what a lot of this stuff is. And then there's obviously a lot of professional illustrators still that worked in those fields that would spend some more time, and you can kind of tell like what's what, but sometimes the unexperienced, crudely drawn stuff is the most iconic and the stuff that people remember, like those weird black cats and weird skeletons and stuff like that. And then after this, I gotta like start finishing my my new like portfolio book I'm working on, trying to apply to a few places to see if I can get something in the meantime while I'm trying to transition and relocate. So I'm not really liking the look of the stippling, actually. I'm looking at it, and there's something about it that's just like not landing right now. And I think it doesn't have that. I don't know. The dots don't look good. The texture is nice. I think it's the I want something else from it. I'm not quite sure what that is just yet. So I think we're going to we might switch it up in a second to another brush, something that's got more of like a dry brush look. I just don't think the dot's doing it for this piece. The grain shader, let's that might be too. Yeah, it's not what I'm looking for either. It's nice, but it's not quite what I want. Like a rough dry ink, that's too wet looking. So a lot of the time, see people what they would use. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I think that rusty nib look. That's pretty good. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. A lot of the time, what people would do is they draw out the illustration and then they then would put it on tracing and then ink it with black for all the individual colors. So we're gonna delete this. We're gonna start over just because I think we need to, because that was just not what I was going for that last look. And it's cool, like this brush has little breaks and stuff built into it, so it'll automatically do those like weird little breaks here and there, and it gives it a really rough texture, which I actually really like. I think that looks cool. And this brush is like a pressure activated brush, so you can get little subtle bits of texture here and there. And I'm also zoomed way in, so it looks pixelated right now. Sorry, wait, what? Do you paint? I do paint. Yeah, I like to paint. I was actually talking about that in the beginning when I started the stream. I want to get back into doing painting stuff with inks and watercolors and fluid acrylics. I used to do way more painting and tattoo flash stuff. I really like it a lot. It just comes down to space and resources right now. Why I'm not doing it, but it is in the plans for future content and stuff once I stabilize and get a new place. Yeah, and I'm pumped that you guys have been sticking around. This has been a really great stream. Just killing it right now. So like having 6 people actively watching the stream is super helpful, like I said, for the channel. And I do plan to get back on this Thursday schedule of drawing, or just, live streaming in general, or whether it be doing art stuff like this, or we do more toy talks. And if I have releases coming up, I'll probably do it the day before. I might do a bit more of an in-depth live view of things, but the quality of the video is not the greatest. Yeah, painting series would be cool. I mean, like I have a graffiti background, so a lot of the stuff I used to paint with was more spray paints and stuff like that. But that might be something I would like to get more into as well, as like showing you guys mural stuff. There's just a lot of YouTubers that do mural stuff that are really talented and have resources that I can't necessarily compete with on the same scale to do mural productions. And a lot of them are super talented, and then a lot of them, I don't want to say that they're not necessarily talented, but they lack a style, an aesthetic that is appealing to me, and I don't want to have to fall into the same boxing category as some of those artists. And like they're still great artists, and I'm like super pumped and happy that they've been able to make stuff. But I just don't want to get involved and like kind of be compared to in the same vein. But like I said, there's some really amazing muraling artists and stuff on YouTube that I do really like a lot. But some of them I'm like, I'm all set, you know. Yeah, so the rougher you get with this stuff, the better it's gonna look. We're just having fun with it. We're making it messy on purpose. We're not really worried about super fine details yet. Just keeping it messy, and we're just adding the highlights. There's no shadows yet because we're probably going to use halftones to make those. And that's another thing I could do for this is I could get the eraser and halftone in other highlights. So if you had one color, for example, you could actually go in and use like litho shading or, you know, like these B-tone eraser brushes. And instead of doing like the yellow highlights, what you could do is you could grab the eraser and you could do them on the green layer like that. So you'd pick and choose where you want them to go. So like you just do a little spot here. And you can get more control with it. Just the sensitivity is really high on that one. But see how it kind of creates an effect. That might not be the best example. Let me grab one with dots in it. It's usually the half toning. So you can do like different percentages of shading. So you can, you know, fill it in and then you zoom out. It's like, oh, like that looks like a highlight spot or whatever you're going for. But that's not necessarily the best example. You just do that and then you bring the scaling of the brush down and you just kind of do that. And that's what I'm going to be doing with the black shading and some of the other highlights and shadows and stuff. But yeah, that's how you can do that. That's another brush from the same company that I talked about earlier, the True Grit Texture Supply guys. Make sure you're on the right layer. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the chat too. Yeah, murals can be scary when you first start. Like I said, like I had a graffiti background, so like you paint small because you don't have the ability to paint big in the beginning, and then you start getting more confident in spots where you can paint for longer and stuff. And that just makes it a lot easier and it becomes less intimidating to do big walls. I've done some very large murals in my day, so I'm not too worried about it anymore. Like I've actually had to like do murals where I'm on a lift and shit like that, which is cool. I actually really liked doing that. I still want to do it, but Boston's like a weird city for a lot of that stuff. It's hard to get those gigs, and anytime I've had a gig like that, it's been like a private commission. It's never been, you know, like I don't get grants and stuff in my city. I don't come from like the social class of people that usually get those things. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to like, you know, write better proposals and stuff like that fit the mold they're looking for, and then slowly sneak in my actual aesthetics and things like that. Slowly. You got to do it carefully. You can't just like jump in with something new and fresh here. It's not it's usually not received well. So you gotta like slowly build it in and get people like accustomed to it. All right. Now I'm just kind of adding some more textures and stuff. And I want it to be really rough and loose in the beginning, because there's already a lot of yellow in this design, so we're going to start really adding a lot more of that orange in a minute, and that will kind of help with everything. And I'm probably going to end the stream in a little bit just because I've been going for a while. We're going to probably go for like another 25 minutes if you guys are cool with that. I ordered food a while ago, and it got here literally as I was streaming. I didn't think it would do that because the things were running late. And that's going to go on the wrong layer, so let me put it on the right one. Just realized. Sorry for the stomach growling noises. I'm starving right now. Okay, so we got that filled in. I used one of these rougher brushes again, and that was not terrible, but it's like a little, I don't know, it can be a little ridiculous. So we're just going to clean up some of the lines that went out too far. All right, we're going to keep that bright yellow. And now I'm looking at the teeth and I'm thinking like these would be kind of cool if I made them like candy corn or something, but that might be a weird one to try to shade. So we'll think about it. And I'm just jumping around a little bit. I'm adding a shadows layer on top of everything, and it's going to be that orange. And we're going to use one of these brushes again. That's like really rough. Bring the size down, and we're just going to add a simple shadow line along some of these. So we'll do like a big one here, kind of define that. And then we're just going to draw somewhat straight lines. Brush is too rough, too uncontrollable. So some of the brushes that have built-in textures are just too intense, and you got to figure out which ones work for you and which ones don't. And you want to try to have things that are placed in the right spot, but it can be tricky. So just, kind of wing it. I left this rough on purpose, and I didn't properly draw it out, so that's okay. From a distance, this is going to look like it's supposed to be like that. So it's not a big deal, but just add some lines, add some texture, keep it rough on purpose. That's what you typically want for this effect. Certain things will have highlights, some things will have shadows. It's just learning about it and keeping it rough. If it looks like it's made unprofessionally, that's when you know you're doing a great job with this style. And sometimes I'll do a piece like this and I'm like, oh man, I gotta really go back and make this look really, really bad. I don't know. Now I'm looking at the green and I'm thinking like maybe I could switch the green out to the orange now and make the teeth and the eyeballs the green and yellow. I don't know. Yeah, like the green's cool. It's got like that monstery look, but I feel like a purple would be better if we had like a dark purple for the shadows. We'll try the orange out really quick. I know for like the yellow, the orange is a great option, but yeah, just the orange is not the right deal. Okay, let's see. Sorry, the camera keeps turning off. It has to record, I guess, on my memory card while it's filming. Fix that. Cool. All right, so it should be good to go. So I got like a continuous battery in there, and it can mess up sometimes. Yeah, let's try this green as an orange really quick. So there's a simple way to do that. We're just gonna do a color overlay. All right, that already looks better. You know, it's so we'll do like a clipping mask, and that just goes over the green. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I think that is what we're gonna go with. We'll keep it 3-color. I still like that green, but I just don't think it's working for this right now. So that looks pretty good, and the highlights look very definite, and we can add the black in for the shadows really rough and make it super textured. So let's stick with this for a minute. Let's try this out. Keep this rolling. And I'll just kind of keep adding yellow highlights. Yeah, see how like the roughness up here looks? That's what I'm going for. I think that looks better than the stippled look, and once I add the rest of the black and start really lining the black out, it'll look a lot better too. Just going over some of those areas I already hit. Just making it look very dry brushy. Now if I were doing this with like an ink or something or a gouache, you can get that same effect by just using a dry brush technique. And that's what I like the iPad and Procreate so much, is because you can create a lot of those real world effects very easily in here, which if you're not used to using traditional media, you can kind of learn how those brush strokes react, and it's pretty accurate. It's definitely amazing to think like, oh, this is like a digital tool, but it feels so realistic, and it almost, you know, it's like it's very intuitive in that sense, that it feels how your hand would feel, especially if you have like a screen protector on here like I do, which really mimics the feeling of a piece of paper. All right, so I'm just catching up on the chat really quick. Yeah, no, I see a lot of that in a lot of the vlogs and studio vlog stuff that people do, and that's okay. Like that's their thing, and you know, it's entertaining to some people, and then other people, it's like they're in the same boat. They're doing the same thing, and they're not really learning stuff. It might not be as exciting for them to learn about someone, you know. And a lot of vlogs too, it's literally just exactly somebody's life, and if you're not a super charismatic person and you're not really giving value, it doesn't really have that same enticing feel. There's a reason like Casey Neistat videos are so popular. Is like he has a very exciting way to film. He's a professional filmmaker, so he films simple things in cinematic ways that other people don't really capture. Like a lot of people can embody and mimic his stuff now, but you'll never be able to be like a Casey Neistat video or anything like that. Especially in like the art community where people do studio vlog stuff, I feel like a lot of it's can get repetitive and boring. It's like I'm making stickers again, or I'm doing this, and like you said, like I'm doing this cute thing. It can get a little boring for some people, and like I appreciate some of that stuff. There's a lot of YouTubers that I follow that I think have really great studio vlog stuff, and then others that they have stuff where I'm like, okay, like this was entertaining the first few times, but it's like the same video in a different color palette, and it's like the art's not really changing that much. And I don't want to like talk shit on anyone, you know, like I'm not calling out any specific YouTubers or anything, but I think being able to do stuff that's a wider range has helped the channel grow a lot and just do something else. And there's definitely like a lack of lowbrow artists on YouTube, I think, that are successful. So it's picking up, though. There's a lot of people that are really blowing up as far as artists go that I think that really deserve it. Channels that I really like Space Case's channel. You know, I've talked about him a bunch. I follow the Iron Gordon sign painting channel. He's another really talented lowbrow artist, and his channel has just started blowing up recently, and I'm so pumped for him. Just he does some really great sign work stuff. But just things that I'm interested in, those are like a lot of the channels that I like to follow a lot. I follow some of like the more common art style videos, but people that were like originators. Like I follow she used to go by Fran Nerd. I don't know if her channel name has changed, but her videos will pop up. Watch those. There's like another like art channel that I follow. It's this artist. I think she's like Art by Lee or something, or Leah. I can't remember her name. She's got a really good channel, but she does a lot of that like cutesy watercolor stuff. But it's unique. It's got a style to it, and it's like her videos are informative, and you learn a lot. So those are cool. 1000, everybody follows that dude. He's got some cool stuff. He's got a very simple style, in my opinion. That's like cartoonish, and a lot of people actually recommended his videos before I really knew who he was, before I was even doing YouTube stuff. And like I'm like, oh yeah, like a lot of the stuff I used to draw had like a really similar vein and style. So it's like kind of crazy to see. I'm like, wow, like that style, which I personally hated in my own work. Like I like seeing other people that have that style do that, and I think it looks good. But with my own stuff, I thought it looked awful, and he does such a good job kind of capturing that bright, colorful, and like unique sort of playful style. And a lot of my stuff had that when I was really young, and I just would draw impulsively like that. I'm like, wow, I guess I have a style I don't have to think about. But yeah, it's crazy to see his stuff. He does some cool shit. And there's like some other channels. I don't know. There's a lot. Maybe I'll do a video on that of like artist channels that I like to follow. There's just so many. I think I'm subscribed to like 100 different channels or something, and there are 90% of them are all art based or like skateboarding stuff like that. So I watch a lot of that stuff when I can. I watch as many skate clips as I can as well. So I watch a lot of like the Thrasher content that gets put out, and a couple other like skater vlog channels and stuff, but just stuff I'm into. And then toy videos, it's hard to find good toy channels that I like, because I feel like a lot of people that do toy reviews, they have so many to do and they crank them out. Like I tried doing it for a while just for fun, and it is hard, man. You gotta have like a really nice setup to get a video that's entertaining to watch, especially as like an art toy review channel or something. It's just there's a lot of like stuff in there that I don't care about, and then there's stuff that I think is awesome that's not covered enough. So I want to eventually get into doing that as well for people that like to collect the things like that I collect, you know. People that buy my pieces might be similar style collectors. So it'd be cool to make videos on more like the weird lowbrow stuff. All right, so we got a lot of highlights in here. It's looking pretty good. I'm actually really happy with how this is coming out so far. So that looks all right. Now I think we got to add some shadows. So we're gonna go above these eyes, back on this layer. We're gonna add these darker orange shadows, and we're just gonna add them into the eyes here. We're gonna use that same brush, and we're probably just gonna go for a little bit longer, guys. It's getting kind of late. I gotta get some stuff done, and I gotta actually eat tonight. I gotta be better about that stuff. I've been pretty bad about it lately. And we're just going to add this in as like very textured as possible. We want to follow along those lines. So that looks pretty good. I think when we add the black, it'll make it better. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. That is another part of it too. There's a lot of like Funko stuff, and I got nothing against people that collect Funkos, and like I have some Funkos of just very specific things just because they're fun. But I don't think the craftsmanship and the quality and artistic touch is in Funko Pops. For people that collect that stuff, they might not know there's other things out there. Like I've been into toys, all the designer toy stuff, pretty much my entire childhood. I grew up on it. I knew about big collectors. Like I had cost pieces back in the day that like almost no one really knew who he was as an artist. And like I had a graffiti background, and I was into street art toys, and got my hands on some stuff and then sold them, which I wish I never did because they are worth so much more, so much more money now. As far as people that collect that stuff, like if you know any of the earlier 2000s cost pieces, you know that they go for like, some of them are $20,000-$30,000 pieces for like really small vinyl toys. Yeah, that's one of my biggest regrets ever, is selling that stuff. But I had to at the time. I had like some health bills and like medical expenses and stuff. But I've been collecting a long time, and I think it's hard to find stuff that has that same authentic feel in the Funko world. Like there's some pieces that they'll do, and I'm like, oh wow, that came out really cool, or like that's like a piece I actually want, or I get that completely. These shadows look redonkulous. I'm getting rid of these. Yeah, those don't look good at all. All right, I just went a little overboard, I think, with the shadows. We're gonna bring those down a little bit. That's just too much. When I add the black, it'll be fine. We'll keep it a bit simple, and we'll just keep it very light like the other ones, and the black on top will really bring it out. So that's actually another good point too. Is when you're drawing sometimes, and like you zoom it into an area, you'll just start detailing something out, and the composition looks weird. Sorry, catching up on the chat. Yeah, I think cause stuff is definitely more of like an art piece. But now that so many people are into cause stuff, and that's great, and like I'm pumped that cause is getting that type of recognition now. But it makes it really hard for people that were collecting early on that don't necessarily have the budget to drop on a piece of his anymore. Like his stuff has always been at a premium price because it's extremely limited. And when he got in at the right time with like Metacom stuff, and Metacom does some of the most iconic collector toys in the world. Really, like a lot of the stuff that they work on is just next level. So like they do like Bear Brick stuff. They do all that stuff is like really hyped now. But if you got to think about back in the day, like I used to really be into all that stuff before it got so popular. And it's not because it's popular that it fell out of interest for me. The quality of the design changed, and it fit a larger audience that it's more relatable to. That it stopped being for like designers. It started being specifically for like the hype kids, and that's totally fine. Like that's the evolution of things, and that's okay. That happens with everything over time. It's like punk is like more of a fashion statement now than it is about a music scene or a cultural thing at all. And to be honest with you, like in that same sort of like headspace about it, Punk has always been like a middle class kid thing. It's never really been, at least like American punk bands and stuff like that. Like hardcore bands were very much more like working class kids and working class family type kids. But most of like the American like punk and stuff like that, that's actually like very like privileged opportunity type kids that are into that stuff. Because it's expensive to be punk. Expensive to look like a punk rock kid, you know? Like hardcore kids are like working class styled, aesthetic, and they have very similar things to punk kids, and that's probably why I gravitated towards it as a kid versus being like really into just punk. Because I knew that they're like I couldn't afford to be punk in the U.S. because it was like so heavily commercialized by the time I like got into it. But same thing with the toy world. Like all like the hype brands used to not be hype for everyone. They were for a very select group of people. Yeah, and I get that. Like now, if I get a cause piece, it's I would love to hold on to it for personal like love of his work, but it is now just strictly becoming an investment, which is fine. Like that's the evolution of him as an artist and as a creative. Like he needs to be recognized in that light, and I get it. But yeah, it does suck for people that want to just get into collecting his stuff. But it's how it goes, and like eventually every artist that makes it, like that's what happens to their stuff, and the price goes up and the value goes up, and it's not bad. It's like a good thing. It's just it does suck. So it's like people that collect early on, when you get in with an artist, this is the best time. And I was just fortunate enough, like I knew people in the graffiti world that kind of turned me on to that stuff. And being a skateboarder, a lot of that stuff was already deeply into skateboard culture and graffiti culture and all that pretty early on. Like Frank Kozik stuff, like if you really know much about him as far as like a creative goes, like he was really heavily into a lot of like the alternative rock and hardcore stuff. And that's really how he got his start, was just doing that, and then became an illustrator, and then eventually dove into doing the toy stuff and sculpture stuff because it was a means for him to do more sculptural work, and in that sense. And that's what I'm into too. Like I like sculpture stuff so much, but I can never afford to be just a sculptor. But toys are more accessible for me to make than being a sculpture artist. It's like I could sell a toy that's anywhere from $30 to $100 or something, and that's more obtainable for someone versus selling a sculpture for $30,000 or $100,000. But it's all everyone's got their own perspective on it, and I think if you want to collect cause stuff, it's hard to do, but I still think it's got value if you actually appreciate the work, and if you can get a piece and you can hold on to one and you want it as an investment as well, I still think that's good too. Like I don't think it's a bad thing. But I do like smaller artists, typically a lot more like indie artists that do their own thing, because I know what goes into it, being one myself. And it's just cool. You learn tricks and little secrets here and there from getting pieces, and you're seeing, oh, like that's how they did that, and you can reverse engineer something and really learn a lot about an artist's process that way by getting original pieces or like going to their shows. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like all the style of things, they're always going to be changing and evolving. So I try not to put too much weight into it. If I'm into something, I'm into it, and I don't try to like pretend I'm into it if I don't like it. Um, like I was in all that stuff when I was younger. Like I liked sneakers, and I liked weird creepy stuff and like weird culty things and like emo music and all that, and like I was into it. Like I'm not ashamed of it or anything. It's like just what you grow up into and like what you like. But I really dove deep into hardcore music for a long time, and it's definitely a different world. And then it just kind of became the same thing as punk, where it's like who's the coolest and who's got this and who's got that, and it just killed it for me for a long time. And now I'm just adding some like textures and stuff on the teeth. I'm just making them look like they're more pointy and kind of like rounded out and sharp. And I'm doing it very rough. This brush does a good job of that because it's pressure sensitive, so it kind of skips a bit. All right, guys. I'm actually we've made it past like the 2 hour mark. I'm kind of beat. I'm gonna maybe probably stream again tomorrow. The Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what's going on. I got like a lot of stuff I'm working on, so we're doing the drop tonight for the Strawberry Milkshake Edition Boomers. Sorry, let me see this. Yeah, there's always gonna be flippers, dude. That's just like the name of it with everything. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably call it a night for this right now. I'll stop here so the next time we go live we can pick this back up, I think, because I'm having fun with it right now. Or if I keep doing it, it is screen recording the iPad. So yeah, we're gonna call it a night. The drop tonight again. That's at midnight on wolfpits.com. It's going to be super limited, so if you guys want to grab that, definitely please feel free to try your luck. If it sells out in the first 24 hours, there will be 3 more added to that 10, which are going to be raffle only. So if you missed out, there is a chance to get those 3 if it sells on the first 24 hours. I have people that I know that are already on it. Please don't use bots. I'm not that infamous, and my pieces aren't that popular for there to be bots. So please don't do that. And yeah, if you want one, you have a good chance of getting one. So I'd say like try your luck. It's free shipping again, just for anyone that wants to know about all that stuff. So yeah, free shipping on anything that's over 150 for anyone in the US. We got a bunch of other things planned coming up for new videos. And yeah, just all sorts of stuff. But I think that's going to do it for tonight's stream. Thank you guys for watching. As always, Wolfpit's out. Yeah, and just like, comment, subscribe. All right, guys. That's going to do it for this one.